Today, I will be using 2 teams of Pokemon based on characters from Spongebob Squarepants. If you have an idea for a Pokemon team, be sure to comment below, and I will use it. And if you like this kind of content, feel free to subscribe. Now let's get right into the battles. Good morning, afternoon, and evening, lovely people. Today I am using a Spongebob Squarepants team, or rather, I'm using 2 Spongebob teams. Special thank you to Junior Soar, HTX for coming up with this team idea. They were the first one to suggest the Spongebob team. Now, I have 2 really interesting battles to showcase as always, and I hope you enjoy these battles. Now, I have Larry here for Crawdon. Crawdon was like the best Pokemon that I thought for Larry the lobster, even though it's not a lobster. I think Clawitzer is like a shrimp, so I didn't use it for Larry, but I'm gonna get some big knockoff damage on the Sarina. I actually led correctly into the Bronzong, which I suspected would lead because obviously it might set up Stealth Rock. So I have this Choice Scarf Quillfish here for Mrs. Puff, and I'm just gonna go for the flip turn and take out the Sarina. So I was like, okay, that's good. I was able to save a lot of HP on my Crawdon and my Quillfish. So into Plankton here. Now this was once in a lifetime stuff here. So Hydreigon comes in. I have a Sweeping Gimmighoul with Terra Blast, Fairy. I'm running a Focus Sash on this, and I'm running a Nasty Plot, Shadow Ball, and Power Gem. So the Hydreigon goes for the Nasty Plot. I'm like, oh my goodness, this is the opportunity for me, because I could go for a Terra Blast, and it's 4 times super effective versus this Hydreigon. So going for that Terra Blast, and I had a Sash anyway, even if they went for Dark Pulse, and I take out the Hydreigon in 1 hit. Oh my gosh, I can't believe Gimmighoul just got that KO. That's actually the perfect setup. I was really worried about them going for U-turn or something. So this was cool too. So the Bronzong is gonna come in. I'm gonna go for the Nasty Plot. I wasn't sure if they were gonna set up like Stealth Rocks or like what if this Bronzong was more defensive or specially defensive. So I'm gonna live that Flash Cannon on my Focus Sash, and I'm gonna go for the Shadow Ball here. And oh wow, Shadow Ball just takes out the Bronzong in 1 hit. Now if it was physically defensive, that critical hit, I still had a chance of KOing with the Shadow Ball, but if it was specially defensive, oh my gosh, that crit mattered. So Plankton out here getting these KOs. He should really, if he wants to steal the secret formula so bad, he should resort to Terra Fairy, Shadow Ball, Terra Blast, and he should run a Focus Sash, like clearly. So the Espeon is gonna come in and it's gonna go for a Terra Normal. I was like, okay, well, I went for the Shadow Ball this turn, so now they're gonna get a free Calm Mind boost. So I was like, I wonder what this is like rocking with. Like, I don't know if they're gonna continuously set up versus me or what, but they end up having Hyper Voice. So I was like, okay, well, that's obviously gonna make use of the Terra Normal, and that's actually gonna do a lot of damage because Espeon has a lot of special attacks. So my Gimmighoul is finally gonna go down, but man, that Gimmighoul did so much work. I chose a Plankton for Gimmighoul just because they're both like tiny Pokemon, and they have like a similar like body type and like similar shape, and like I thought that, you know, if Blipbug was in the game, I would have chosen Blipbug because Blipbug is more like scientific, and like Plankton is obviously like this very tech heavy, like tech savvy character. So I ended up choosing Gimmighoul. I thought Gimmighoul matched his design the best. So this ended up being a Throat Spray Hyper Voice Espeon. So I ended up swapping in and sacrificing my Crawdon just in case they went for the Psychic versus my Quillfish. But at the very least, I'm gonna outspeed the Espeon thanks to my Choice Scarf, and I'm gonna 2-hit KO it with the Flip Turn. So I was like, okay, that's really good because it actually did like exactly 50%. So I was really thankful to get the KO on that Pokemon. So into my Metagross here for Karen. I chose Metagross because Metagross is based on a computer, of course, and like Karen is a computer, so I thought it was like a good fit. Now, in comes the Whiscash. This was pretty problematic Pokemon, so I'm gonna go for the Agility. This is a Power Herb Meteor Beam Metagross, and the Whiscash is gonna go for the Dragon Dance. So I was like, okay, well, depending on what they're rocking, I should be able to maybe badly live an Earthquake. It's gonna be very close. So I'm gonna go for the Meteor Beam here, raise my special attack. And I thought if I go for a Meteor Beam into a Psychic, I should be able to take out this Whiscash here. So they end up having high horsepower, which is weaker, but they still takes out my Metagross. So I was like, oh no. Well, I at the very least, Whiscash is a slow Pokemon. I did kind of expect that they would have Oblivious, but they have Adrenaline Orb. So I was like, wow, that's super sick because it's gonna raise its speed because it got intimidated. But the Whiscash is like super slow, and I assume it was adamant nature based on like how much it did versus my Metagross. And if it was jolly nature, it would have been able to outspeed me. But since it was adamant, I was able to outspeed it and get off the Destiny Bond with Mrs. Puff. So that ended up working out really well. I did have like a failsafe just in case my Quillfish ended up getting outsped by the Whiscash, and I'll talk about that right now. So this is an offensive Tentacruel. The last Pokemon they have is the Titan. I do a lot of damage here. I chose Squilliam. Now this wasn't originally Squilliam. I originally had King Neptune very last minute, but I changed it to Squilliam, and I'll talk about more about the other characters that I considered for this team because SpongeBob has a lot. Like this Titan here for Pearl. This is a defensive Titan. This is max defense, max special defense. So even if Whiscash got out of hand, I could be able to take it out with this Titan. And I'm also running a Purse Body Press set on this. It's so bad, but I was able to get the KO on Titan, and that's gonna be the end of that first game. So that was that first team. It was pretty fun, but this team was so frustrating to get battles with. This team did not have many good Pokemon at all. So this has more of the main characters. So obviously I have Squidward here. Now, I have a Toadschool for Squidward and Tentacruel for Squilliam because I did a poll on my YouTube community, and like it was pretty like split on obviously like Toadschool 1 versus Tentacruel, but I wanted to include both of them just in case, and I thought Squilliam was like a good fit, you know, Squilliam from Bandcamp. So into my Marini here for Patrick. Now, I thought that, you know, Staryu isn't in the game, unfortunately, and I didn't think a Pokemon like Clefairy or Clefable fit Patrick too well, even though they're pink, like, star-shaped things. So I chose Marini just because the color, the shiny color, matched Patrick, and it's also based on a starfish anyway, so I thought it was a good fit. Now, unfortunately, my Marini gets put to sleep, and the Garchomp is going to go for the Earthquake, and that actually critical hits me. I was like, oh, geez. And I'm still going to be asleep, so I guess, you know, it's very in character for Patrick. He's always sleeping. So, unfortunately, I'm going to get taken out, but that was a physically defensive Marini, too, so, you know, I really didn't have the best switches for this Garchomp, and I didn't want to risk my my Spongebob here for Regieleki just in case they went for, like, Scale Shot or started to, like, set up or something. So this is easily the best Pokemon on my team. This Pokemon is like, it carries this team like on its back tenfold, and I'm running a Terra Blast Ice on this. Now, obviously, SpongeBob was a really hard character to designate a Pokemon to in general, just because there aren't really any sponge-shaped Pokemon, and I didn't think like a square Pokemon like Rotom Wash or Rotom Heat really fit. So I went with Regieleki just because of that episode where they all became a part of the International Justice League of Super Acquaintances. I definitely messed that up. But he was like the Quickster, right? And Regieleki is a very fast Pokemon, so I thought it was like a really good fit. So, into Sandy here by Pachirisu. I'm going to take a close combat. I wasn't expecting that. I was honestly expecting them to maybe potentially like bulk up or like Drain Punch at the very least. But I'm running Encore on this, so I thought, well, if I lock them into close combat and they get like a -2 in defense, then I should be able to revenge KO them with my Regieleki. But unfortunately, they swap back into their Amoonguss here, and they're gonna put my Sandy to sleep. So I was like, okay, well, you know, obviously it's Amoonguss. That's always what it's gonna go for. On this, I had a max HP and max speed Pachirisu with it had Super Fang, it had Protect, Encore, and Volt Switch, I think. So I'm going to swap in Gary here for Magcargo. I knew that I would be able to tank any hit from this. This is actually a sweeping Magcargo for Gary. So this is a Shell Smash, Fire Blast, Earth Power, Ancient Power Magcargo. So first little Blood Moon comes in. It takes so much damage, and I'm able to 2-hit KO it with the Fire Blast. I was thankful that it didn't have Vacuum Wave either, so that was a great KO on Magcargo. So in comes the problematic Annihilate here. Now, I thought, okay, well, I'm gonna need to take this out with my Regieleki, but I'm gonna need to get some defense drops on this. I'm gonna need to fade out potentially like close combats on this. So I have Substitute on my Regieleki. I also am running a Air Balloon because, you know, it's free Balloon Day. And I thought, well, if I go for Substitute, I should hopefully like draw out maybe like another close combat. I wasn't sure if this Annihilate was running like Choice Scarf or something, so I swapped in just in case it was locked into Earthquake because I have my Air Balloon. But they're gonna end up terrestrializing into a fighting type. So I was like, okay, well, obviously, Terra fighting close combat was easily gonna be able to take out SpongeBob. But I thought if they continuously go for close combats and continuously drop their own defense, I should be good to KO this Pokemon. So I'm gonna end up going for another substitute here, and I thought, well, unfortunately my air balloon gets popped, so they could be able to go for earthquakes. And I thought, well, I don't know if they're gonna go for another close combat. I mean, I am an ice type now. I'm technically a Regice, and the Annihilate does go for earthquakes. So I was like, okay, well, shoot, they're not gonna fall for that. They're not gonna drop their own defense, and earthquake actually ends up breaking my substitute too. So I was like, well, this is a tricky scenario because I do want to evade out the close combat if possible. So I'm bringing in Cloth here for Mr. Krabs. Obviously, it's a crab. It's like very fitting, and it even has eyes coming out of its head. So they're gonna go for another earthquake. I was really hoping that they would go for close combat, but I ended up living. So I was like, okay, that's good, because I'm able to go for the knockoff here. This is a fully physically defensive Cloth with Regenerator, and I'm running an Assault Vest on this as well. No, I'm not running an Assault Vest. I'm running a Heavy Duty Boots. I changed the item. So they're gonna take out my Cloth. I'm actually running a lot more bulky Pokemon on this team. I tried to run like a balance with this team, but when you're using Pokemon like Toadschool and freaking Marini, it's not exactly the best. So this is a specially defensive Toadschool. I was able to thankfully live the Rage Fist, and I'm gonna be able to get some crucial Foul Play chip damage. Now, even though they're -1, I did put them in range for me to revenge KO them with the Regieleki, but it did cost me quite a handful of my Pokemon. So I thought, well, at the very least, I was able to take out the Annihilate finally. So there goes that thing, and they're gonna bring a Goldigo. Now, I wasn't confident that I was gonna KO this Pokemon in one hit, which I don't, obviously, and they're gonna end up having the Citrus Berry. So I was like, okay, well, obviously my Regieleki is gonna go down here to make it rain, and it's all riding on Gary here. It's all riding on Gary at this point. I don't know if I don't know if it's gonna do for me, but I'm hoping that Gary can be able to set up a Shell Smash and just win. But it's gonna be very difficult because of the Pokemon that they have in the back. So bringing in a Cargo here. I'm running a Terra Ground on this as well to boost my Earth Power damage. So they're gonna go for the Shadow Ball, and I lived that. So I was like, okay, that's good, because I'm actually running White Herb on this. I kind of regret having that as the item just because I also have a Weak Armor on this set, and obviously like Weak Armor is gonna take up the White Herb, right? So I'm gonna get that Shell Smash off. So I was like, okay, this is the best opportunity that I have to maybe come back in this battle, hopefully. So going for that Shell Smash, and I'm gonna go for the Earth Power afterwards and take out the Goldigo, which is nice. I didn't have to risk a Fire Blast on that. So their last Pokemon is Ditto. I was like, okay, well, I got close, but this is clearly going to be Choice Scarf. It's clearly going to outspeed me and Earth Power me or something, but I outsped it. I was like, okay, that's good. I won, but I didn't win because it's Focus Sash Ditto. Oh, no. If it wasn't Sash, I would have been able to come back with Gary in this game, because I would have easily been able to KO the Amoonguss. Oh, I got so close. I'm telling you, this team was so bad. It was so tragic. But thank you all so much for watching. My name is SkyLaaa. Don't forget to smile, and I will see you all next time.